Hi, welcome to another weekly reading vlog. I really like it when I can start off a vlog with reading updates, and I have reading updates. So when we last spoke, I was reading Little by Edward Carey. This is a historical fiction that tells the story of Marie, who is the woman who grew up to found Madame Two Swords as we know it today, which is the House of Wax Figurines. So this is an absolutely fascinating historical fiction, and I finished it yesterday. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I just thought it was superb. I really enjoyed the way it was informative as well as fictionalizing some things, so the story didn't feel like you were getting too much heavy information, because the way that things were fictionalized meant that it was more for a fiction book than it was feeling like a non-fiction book. So I felt like I learned some things because this is set in the late 1700s, so it covers the French Revolution as it is set in France, and that was really, really interesting to read about. It's something that I do know a little bit about, but not a great deal. There was one part in this that I was reading when I was sat in a cafe, and it talked about Lafayette, who is in Hamilton, which I love, and is obviously an actual historical figure as well, but I got very excited when I saw that Lafayette was in this. I just thought it was so good. I've said before that I really enjoyed how the main character sees people and how she sees the world. She has a different view on it, and I think that really she ended up being quite a feminist icon within this book, and what she achieved and how much shit she had to go through to get where she got to. She was so strong throughout, and I feel like more should be said about her because she was really amazing and really pioneered the kind of art and creation that she was involved in before photographs were a thing to be able to capture moments and people. She was preserving life within these wax sculptures, and it's just fascinating to hear the kind of journey those sculptures took and who was sculpted, and very, very interesting. If you are after a good historical fiction recommendation, I would really, really advise Little. I would say trigger warnings for parental death, stillbirth, and also beheadings. There is a lot of talk about beheadings in this because it is set in the late 1700s in France, so be warned of those kind of things. So that means I am now moving on to my next read of the month, which is A Bookshop in Algiers by Twyford Code. This is really lovely. I am over halfway in this already. It's really not very long, but here we go. I started it yesterday afternoon, and this follows 2 different timelines. There is always a siren going past when I film. Okay, this follows 2 different timelines. It follows the present day, which I think in this book is 2017, and then it follows the 1930s onwards. In the 1930s, we are seeing the journey this man has gone on to open this bookshop in Algiers, and having like the struggles that he has to get it running and then successful, and he also kind of turns it into a publishing house as well. Really interesting there. And then in the present day, we are seeing somebody who has been told to come and dismantle the bookshop essentially and take it all apart so it can become a little bakery pastry shop instead. So he's taking the bookshop we are seeing being created apart, so you're getting really parallel storylines, but the past storylines are kind of told in sort of diary entries, informative diary entries that are very kind of to the point, couple of sentences for each date, which is really interesting because it moves the story along very quickly. It allows the author to be able to tell this journey through each year rather than just going through each day, which is what we're seeing in the modern day 2017 storyline. So this is really interesting already, and it's also just about such a love for books. Like the characters in the 1930s timeline onwards, they just absolutely love books with their whole heart and soul, and the way they talk about it is just brilliant. Like the magic in stories is just unlike anything else, and this book captures that perfectly. So far, I'm really liking this as well. When I finish that, I intend to move on to Assembly by Natasha Brown. This one is tiny, so I'm hoping that both of these will hopefully be ones that I've read this week. I've got Patreon sprints tonight where I'll be reading this, and I think probably finishing this, so hopefully then I can read Assembly, which I'm really excited about as well. I also got a book through in the post. Waterstones marketing emails got me with this one. I ordered Hair House by Sally Hinchcliffe. I had not heard of this before, and then it came through in an email, and I was like, okay, we'll give this a go. It's a signed copy. I have now forgotten the exact plot, so we're gonna read it together. I think it's witchy? Maybe? I can't remember. That might be completely wrong, or it might just be spooky. Let's find out. In the first brisk days of autumn, a woman arrives to make a new life in a remote corner of southwest Scotland, hoping to leave the secrets of her past behind her. Moving into a cottage on the beautiful Hare House estate, she begins to explore her home. Yet among the rolling moorland and dark forests something sinister is lurking. Local tales of witchcraft, witchy, and young men sent mad while strange things begin happening even in the full light of day. But is Hare House, with its strange display of taxidermy and whose inhabitants have secrets of their own, a place of refuge or danger? As autumn turns to winter, heavy snowfall traps everyone inside, and while the temperature outside drops below freezing, it isn't long before the tension within its walls rise to fever pitch. Hare House is both a gripping literary chiller and a beautiful evocation of a place held by its past. Okay, so it is witchy. There is witchy vibes in that, and also spooky vibes. So I thought this sounded really interesting, and maybe one I would read towards the autumn again. Feels weird that now we're kind of going back towards that, like, you know, we've had the autumn, we're in the winter, and it'll be a couple of months and I'll be saying, I'm gonna save these books for the autumn again, which just, well, I guess that's how time works. But anyway, so yeah, these are my updates. Hi, welcome to the weekly reading vlog. This week, I don't have massively anything exciting planned. I'm going to be getting my hair cut on Wednesday. I think I'm going to be getting long bangs, like fringe put in, but like long choppy. And I am also hoping to see my family on my dad's side this weekend because I wasn't able to see them over Christmas because there was some COVID interruptions there. Everything is fine now, but yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing them at the weekend. So that's my plan. Hi, welcome to the weekly reading vlog. Hi, so I'm just doing some editing on my lunch break, and in the shot that I'm currently editing, I am stood in front of my wall, and there's a yellow background. Now this yellow, for me, looking at it, is a lovely warm tone. It's kind of a orangey yellow, sunset, kind of sunflowery, sun yellow. It's a nice warm yellow. It's actually very similar colour to that cushion, which on camera looks different, but the yellow on camera is zesty and almost a bit sour. Look, it's just not the same yellow, and it really annoys me. Like, this wool, I love it so much, but every time I see it on camera, I'm like, ugh, why did I paint it that colour? And I'm like, I didn't paint it that colour. So yeah, just a quick fun fact for you, because it's really bugging me that it just comes across as this really weird yellow. In fact, if anyone has the Strandmond IKEA chair in yellow, this is the yellow colour that it is. This yellow, it just doesn't look at why. I mean, even this looks a different colour on camera, to be honest. Damn yellows on camera. Hello, it is Monday night. I'm in a blanket in my chair, ready for my Patreon sprints. I am quite cold, so I have my heater on over there, and the blanket. But I got some book mail today, more book mail from what I showed you earlier, and I just wanted to show you what it was. So I got How Do You Live by Genzaburo Yoshino, and this is going to be another one where I read the blurb of this to you, but I saw this yesterday on my friend Katie's Instagram, Katie Elizabeth Reads, and I thought I would check it out because it looked really good and also just looked absolutely beautiful. So, the blurb. Publishing in English for the very first time, Japan's beloved coming-of-age classic on what really matters in life. The streets of Tokyo swarm below 15-year-old Copper as he gazes out into the city of his childhood. Struck by the thought of the infinite people whose lives play out alongside his own, he begins to wonder, how do you live? Considering life's biggest questions for the first time, Copper turns to his dear uncle for heartwarming wisdom. As the old man guides the boy on a journey of philosophical discovery, a timeless tale unfolds, offering a poignant reflection on what it means to be human. I just thought it sounded really, really lovely, and also, Believe Under the Dust Jacket is absolutely stunning. I love that moon, very thin, pretty outline. I absolutely love that. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you quickly before I jump on my sprints. So, hoping to finish. Oh, I dropped it. Oops. Sorry, book. It's okay. So, yes, hoping to finish her bookshop in Algiers tonight. So I'm going to jump on the sprints now. By the way, if you do ever want to join these sprints, they are, well, they're actually weekly at the moment. In January, they seem to be doing one a week. And they're all linked down below. It's to all tiers on my Patreon. So any tier you sign up to, you get access to the live shows. Hello, some time has passed. It is Monday night and I have finished some books. So I wanted to show you what they were. And yes, I said books, multiple. I finished 2 books. What a start to a reading vlog. So the first book I finished is A Bookshop in Algiers by Kayutha Ademi. I am sat on my feet and they are going dead already. I don't know why I've done this. Anyway, hang on, let's get more comfortable. Okay, that's roughly better. Anyway, this is the first book I finished and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the way this story was told. I think it was done very well in terms of blending the past and the present and also giving the reader information about something that for me personally I didn't know very much about going into this and now want to research further into. But they did it in a really clever way that wasn't making me feel like I was absorbing like too much information. It was literally just a page or two every 30 or so pages that was much more factual based, which was almost like it was just directed at the reader in a more non-fiction way. But it worked really well and seamlessly into the story. I feel like that would make more sense if you've read this book to know what I'm saying. It probably makes zero sense. But anyway, it's a really clever way of the story being told, and I also really enjoyed the way that this showed how books can change people, even if it's not through physically reading them. It doesn't have to be that. It's just the way that books can affect different people, and I really liked that message because it was a bit of a different take on the love of books, which again, I don't want to ruin for anybody by telling you more about it, but very, very good. 4 out of 5 stars. Then I moved on to Assembly by Natasha Brown. I didn't necessarily expect to read all of this tonight, but I did finish this within the first round of sprints, or the second round. No, I don't know. When did I? We did 3 sprints and I read a lot. So, I mean, they are both quite small books, but hey, I'll give myself some credit. So yes, moved on to this one, which is the 3rd book I have read this month now. So I am ahead of my Goodreads challenge, which is exciting, of 70 books, by the way. So this is Natasha Brown's debut book. And for a debut book, I am blown away by this writing style. Natasha Brown's writing is incredibly poetic and just flows really beautifully, but not poetic in a way where you're confused and lost as to what the description is actually trying to describe. It wasn't even that description heavy, to be honest. It was much more observational about moments in our main character's life that kind of knit together to form the path she is on at the moment. This book is critiquing British society, it's critiquing wealth and class, privilege, misogyny, race and gender. It is talking about a lot in a very short amount of pages, and I think it is very powerful in the way that it uses the narrative to guide that conversation. This follows our main character, who is in the present day, and we also see her experiences as she is younger and becoming an adult, but we get that in a kind of fragmented way because there's not really a timeline to it, and you don't really know when you're being thrown back into one of those moments versus when you're in the present day. There's no date, for example. It feels like you really are in the main character's head, and I think that's probably further perpetuated by the fact that she is actually an unnamed main character, so it really does feel like you're in her head because you're kind of seeing things, everything from her perspective, and therefore you're just getting everything very much from a bird's eye view of that sense. And I think sometimes I'm trying to make that make sense in my head with her being an unnamed main character, but obviously we hear our own names being called if someone's referring to us, but I wouldn't often think about my own name if I was like narrating inside of my head unless someone else was saying it. So it makes sense in my head. Don't know if it makes sense to anybody else, but anyway, irrelevant point, moving on. So yes, I thought this was very powerful and very strong, especially in such a short amount of pages. And I think actually for it being such a short amount of pages, I think that intensified everything anyway, because it was all in under 100 pages. So it made it feel very intense and like you were very there in it, in the process of our main character getting to this garden party, and the strong contrast you can see when she's at her boyfriend's house between the kind of life that he lived versus the life that she's experiencing, and the kind of things that have come very easy to him that she's had to work harder for. And yeah, just a massive social commentary. Very, very interesting. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars as well. So these are the 2 books that I read tonight. I now have to pick my next book, which is either going to be Cuckoo Land or, I've forgotten the name of it, the Frederick Bateman book about something about a grandmother telling stories. My grandmother sends her stories and apology. I can't remember what it's called. Something about stories, apologies, grandmother. It's our book club pick for Patreon, so I think I'm going to pick Cuckoo Land first because our book club runs from January to February, so I want to read the Frederick Bateman one as close to February as I can, because then more people will have read it so we can talk about it in the book club. So I think that's the plan. Cuckoo Land is dauntingly large and also looks like it's going to be a lot. Like that story is looking like a lot, so I'm hoping that one isn't too daunting, but let's give it a go. This has been a lot of reading updates on a Monday, but hey, I hope you're enjoying the vlog. Hello, it is Tuesday and I have read some more. I started a new book last night after I spoke to you. I'd finished 2 books yesterday with the help of Patreon sprints, and then just after midnight, which was great timing to start a new book, I started another book that was very, very much a page turner, and it was difficult to put it down to go to sleep. That book is Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr, and this, I don't even know what it's about. I don't even know how to summarize it. I think it's a fantasy sci-fi fantasy, multi-timeline, maybe multi-world adventure. I've heard it's epic, I've heard it's brilliant, and complex. There are multiple different timelines going on with multiple different plots that I assume will all knit together. The first one that I've really got stuck into is set in a library in a pretty much modern day setting, and something perilous is happening in that timeline and I need to know what's happening, but now I'm following other timelines as well. So I think that in that sense it's going to be quite a fast-paced read because I want to get back to the chapters that I was initially reading to find out what's happening there, but at the same time I'm enjoying learning about these other chapters, meeting new characters there as well. So I'm really enjoying this so far. There's something about the adventure side of it and the way that that's unravelling that reminds me of the kind of books that I read as a kid. Not that this is a kid's book at all, and I certainly wouldn't have read this as a kid. However, there is something about the start of the adventure that gives me that kind of fresh excitement for a story that I got when I used to go into bookshops with my grandma, and I'd get to pick out one book, she'd pick out one book, and it would always be like, I'd always pick this big adventure story, and this kind of gives me those kind of vibes. Tomorrow, I've got my hair cut, or I'm getting my bangs, my fringe, like, no, I mean, not really. It's not going to look like that, but I'm getting a long fringe. I have no idea how successful it's going to be. Did you guys hear that? That was a very loud car engine. Anyway, I have no idea how successful it's going to actually be, or whether it's just kind of fall down the sides of my face. I don't know, but that's the plan. So, hi, happy Tuesday. Hey. So I bought some plants. I got my aunt and uncle a plant for Christmas. This is that plant, and I haven't seen them yet to give them the plant, but I have actually decided to give them this one instead because this lovely plant, Caletheia, is having a couple of issues and I don't know why, and I don't know whether she just didn't have the best start to life, but she's been a little needy, which is okay, so I am going to keep her and look after her myself because I feel like it's mean to give somebody a needy plant when you don't know if they want that kind of responsibility, because a plant is like a child, except not, but still. Anyway, I'm gonna keep this one. So I bought them this one instead, which is lots of little succulents. And then I also came across a little independent plant shop in my town that I didn't know was there, and I bought myself this little plant. Well, it's actually quite tall. I thought that this space needed a plant, so he's there now. And I've got a little Zen garden, and it's got grass. It's so exciting. So I bought some plants. I also bought this book. Oh my god, I can't even pick it up one-handed. This is very big. It is over 700 pages. This is To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihiro, who is the author of A Little Life, which honestly I wish I liked more. I think for me it was very, 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 very bleak and I needed a little bit of joy. Now, I'm understanding this one's probably going to be quite similar, but I fancied it and I thought I'd pick it up, so I got that arrived. And I've also got these old reader magazines. I saw these talked about online from Julia's bookcase, and they've just got little articles written in them, and I just thought they looked really nice, so I ordered some of those to have a little flick through. That's not the only thing I got. I also got bangs. I've got a full fringe. It's kind of like a bottleneck fringe, it gradients down, but I haven't really worked out how to style it yet or how to dry it. I mean, obviously I haven't, I literally just got it done, but the hairdresser has very much done it in their style and it's not necessarily how I would ever do my hair. So I feel like at the moment I look like I've just got someone else's hair stuck on my head. So I need to see it once I have washed it and once I've dried it in a couple of days' time to properly see what I think of it, but I just fancied a change. Yeah, I like the fact that I can kind of part it down the middle. I just wanted a bit of a change. My hair's been this length for quite a while now. I usually cut it short quite often, but I'm going to keep growing it a bit longer for no real reason. And yeah, this is what I went for. So I'm going to style it properly tomorrow, or maybe not tomorrow, maybe it'll still be in this style tomorrow, but in some day soon, I'm going to style it properly and we can see what it actually looks like. Well, this is what it actually looks like. Do you know what I mean? When you get your hair done, it just always looks different to how you do it, so here's my hair. I'm gonna make some dinner soon, which is gonna be itsu, frozen gyozas and some bear buns. And then I'm going to do some cleaning, which is gonna be really fun. Obviously, I'm gonna clean my flat, but I'm gonna call Lauren from Fiction Tea whilst I do it because I'm gonna bug her for company. So that's my plan for the evening. I read some of Cuckoo Land whilst I was getting my hair done. I don't know where it is, I was looking for it. It's down there in my bag. And it is very disjointed and weird at the moment, in a good way, but also I don't really have a clue what's going on, but I don't think I'm meant to yet. But it's slowly building. I'm 110 pages in so far, I think. I'm liking it, so yeah, hey, it's a way update. It's got plant, got book, got this. Hi. Okay, we can kind of see the bangs a little bit better. I have slept and not redone my hair, but I've just kind of straightened it out. I don't really know how, like, because I can kind of wear it full, which is more like, I don't really know. How do I get that middle bit back? Where have you gone? Hang on. So I could wear it a bit more like that, which is more full. I promise there is actually hair in the middle. I could wear it more full like this, but I quite enjoy having the kind of little gap to it, to be honest. I don't know. I'll work it out. I need to get used to it. But yeah, yesterday wasn't quite how I would style them, so today a little bit more how I would style them, but I've still got my hair done by the hairdresser, so need to wash it all. Anyway, bangs! I kind of just thought, sod it, I'm gonna go for it, because I've been thinking about it for a while, and I wasn't gonna know until I tried. I hadn't had a fringe since I was 15 or so I was worried it was gonna make me look like I was 15 again. Hopefully it doesn't. I've also got the highlights removed from my hair as well. I think I just kind of reached a point where I didn't want them there anymore and didn't quite like how they looked anymore, so I'm back to just a normal brunette, and this is pretty much, it's not my natural colour because obviously I've had it dyed, but it is a match to my root colour, so we're back to brunette without the blonde highlights, so I'm happy, feeling good. Anyway, reading wise, I intended to read more of this than I did last night, but I read about 50 or 60 pages, so that's not too bad. I also read in the hairdressers whilst my hair dye was on, so I did get some pages in yesterday. It's not a slow book, but it is a slow book. Like, the story that we're getting is being slowly pieced together, but it's fast paced as a reader because the chapters are short and we're going between multiple timelines. So whilst what is actually happening hasn't really been established yet, we're on page 159, I'm getting like 3 or 4 different storylines here at once, so I don't feel bored at all. I just feel completely intrigued to see how they'll all knit together. So I'm really liking it. This is where I am. It's so chunky. It's so big. I hope to make some good progress with this over the weekend. I have got plans that are outdoorsy walk-based plans. I think I'm doing some sprints on Saturday night, and yeah, I hope to just make a good dent into this and continue to do that in the evenings. There is a child crying outside. Okay, sorry for any background noise if you can hear it. I think a child does not want to go to school and is not happy about that outside in the car park of my flat. But anyway, yes, so I could not tell you what this is about yet. There is a library and I'm enjoying that aspect of it. There is a respect and love for reading. There is also a futuristic timeline in which the world Earth is no more or was no longer inhabitable. So I think it might be a bit of a moral story going in as well. And there is a historical fiction timeline that is 2 different people within that one timeline that we're following that so far have not come together. So I am very intrigued to see how this all knits together. This is kind of giving me Cloud Atlas vibes. I haven't read Cloud Atlas, but I have watched the film. It's giving me those kind of vibes, not just because it has cloud in the title, but because it's lots of different timelines and seemingly completely separate narratives that I assume will end up all knitting together and probably wowing me. So yeah, I'm quite glad I picked this up when I did, to be honest, because I think if I hadn't of, I feel like this would have just stayed on my TBR for a long time and been one of those books that I was always like, oh, I really want to read that. Like Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. Is it O'Farrell? Yes, Maggie O'Farrell. That is a book that I've had on my TBR for so long, and every time I look at it I'm like, I really want to read you, but it's not the right time. This year I'm gonna read that book. But anyway, this is what I'm currently reading. I am actually currently reading another book, hang on. So my audiobook of choice is A Life on Our Planet by David Attenborough. I am listening to David Attenborough narrate this. He has such a fantastic voice, I could just listen to him all day. I have put him on 1 times speed. I usually listen at 1.5 to 2 times speed with audiobooks, but David deserves absolute normal speed as he intended it to be listened to. This is his mission statement, and this is him talking about his career and everything he's observed along the way. Each part is split into telling us how much of the Earth's population has grown and how much of the planet is still green, and it's just such a fascinating book, and David Attenborough is such a brilliant man as well. But for what this is doing in terms of educating people and just leaving this lasting statement from David Attenborough, and I think it's very powerful. I would highly advise everybody to listen to this audiobook, and it's literally 5.5 hours long or something like that. It's not long at all. If you buy this book, I think there's pictures, yeah, there's pictures inside it as well. But not only is it super interesting to see the life that David Attenborough has lived and see where his origin story has come from, but it's just so key to listen to what we're doing to our planet and how we can stop it, because we can stop it. We can still stop what's happening to our planet, and this is telling us how and why. So this is very, very important. Also, the new documentary that is on BBC on Sundays, is it Sundays? Again, time Time is nothing to me at the moment, apparently. I think it's Sunday nights, and it's called The Green Planet. I watched the first one last week and it was just fantastic. So good. Very much focus on plants and the environment as opposed to the animal side of things, but so brilliant. As I said that, my plant moved. It responded to my voice. Okay, yeah, this is my current audiobook and it's fantastic. I got to meet David Attenborough in 2018 and I think I'm still in awe from that now because, oh my gosh, I got to actually have a conversation with him. It was brilliant. My mind is blown. Anyway, hi. I don't even know what day it is. It's Thursday. Hey. So I had to dip into town to pick up an order and I decided to visit Waterstones with no intention of buying anything, but I bought 3 books. One of them I did kind of want to have a look at, but the other 2, they fell into my hand. They fell. So the first book I got is My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell. This is a children's classic about a young boy who moves to Corfu with his family and learns about all the animals over there. The reason I picked this up is because in May I am going to be going to Corfu, which I am so excited about. My family were going away this year. They knew they wanted to go away somewhere lovely and sunny and they asked if I wanted to come along with them and I was like, yeah, okay then. So I'm gonna go with them to Corfu and I cannot wait because I'm just gonna read all the books and see a beautiful area of the world and I cannot wait. So yeah, I thought getting this book would be a great way to get me very excited for going, or one that I'll read over there. One of the two. I also picked up Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell because the book I'm currently reading, Cloud Cuckoo Land, gives me serious Cloud Atlas vibes, except I've not read the book. I have watched the film, but I've never read the book and it's always been a book I want to read and I know it's meant to be a fantastic book. I can't really remember the plot of the film other than the fact that there are many of them, but I feel slightly daunted by this. It's not the thinnest thing ever, but I've heard very good things about it and I'm really enjoying Cloud Cuckoo Land, which I'm the one drawing these parallels. No one else has said it. Well, I haven't seen anyone else say that there's kind of these parallels. So I'm hoping because I'm enjoying that, I'll enjoy this being quite a fragmented narrative all over the place with lots of different plots going on at once, which is what I think my chaotic brain is after sometimes, because that is pretty much how my inner workings of my brain is most of the time. Like, so much is happening at once and it kind of almost soothes me to read the same kind of narrative because my brain is very busy and I get bored quite easily and I like to have lots to keep me occupied, and books like this really keep me occupied. And then I bought The Twyford Code by Janice Hallett. This is the same author of The Appeal, which I have not read yet. It's up there, it's on my TBR, it's gonna be read. But I knew this was coming out. Did it come out today? I knew it was coming out this week, and it probably did come out today, didn't it? Because a lot of books come out on a Thursday. And I hadn't really looked at what it was about, but I looked at it in the bookshop. This was the only copy I had. It's blue spray pages. And I just thought it sounded absolutely fantastic. And I bought it. I think this one's mixed media, as The Appeal is. There's like different forms of the story being told through email and text messages and things, but this just sounded so interesting. This, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to summarise it. I've only read the blurb once in the shop. Hang on. Let's go through what's about. 40 years ago, Stephen Smith found a copy of a famous children's book by disgraced author Edith Twyford. Its margins full of strange markings and annotations. Wanting to know more, he took it to his English teacher, Miss Isles. Not realising the chain of events that he was setting in motion, Miss Isles becomes convinced that the book was the key to solving a puzzle, and that a message was and that a message in secret code ran through all Twyford's novels. Then Miss Isles disappears on a class field trip and Stephen has no memory of what happened to her. Now out of prison after a long stretch, Stephen decides to investigate the mystery that has haunted him for decades. Was Miss Isles murdered? Was she deluded? Or was she right about the code? And is it still in use today? Desperate to recover his memories and find out what really happened to Miss Isles, Stephen revisits the people and the places of his childhood, but it soon becomes clear that Edith Twyford wasn't just a writer of forgotten children's stories. The Twyford Code has great power and he isn't the only one trying to solve it. It sounds so interesting, I cannot wait. I love that the little end pages have small little illustrations that I assume are going to be pertaining to parts of the story, but this sounds really good. I want to try and get this on my February TBR if I can. Apparently this is, and it's got exclusive content in it as well. I don't know if there's like a bonus chapter or something, but I absolutely loved it. The Secret Seven for grown-ups, an elegant puzzle of a book with an exquisite little heart, multi-layered mystery unlike anything I've read before. I'm really excited. I'm really excited. So those are the books that I picked up today. I've not got long left at work. I walked into town on my lunch break, and now I think, I've got under an hour left at work, and then I'm gonna go around to my friends for dinner. So it's gonna be a good Thursday. And now I just really wanna read so I can then get to that book that I've just popped on the floor. I have too many books that I am very desperate to read. It's a relatable problem, guys. It's okay. I'm doing fine. Hi, it's Saturday. I am so glad it's the weekend. I had a really difficult week this week for some reason. I just felt really lonely and isolated for no real reason. I did still see people and do things, but I just felt really flat, and I think it's kind of just the repetitiveness of each day at the moment, and it was just getting me down. So this weekend I am out a lot, I am walking a lot, and I am seeing people, which makes me happy. So yeah, that's good. I don't know, just had a flat week, so I'm very, very happy it's the weekend. I also have a reading update. Last night I sat down and read for about 3 hours, Cuckoo Land, and it is so good. I am absolutely loving it. It is just brilliantly written in a very visual way. I can see everything. There are 5 different plots we're following in 4 different time zones. Oh, actually, no, is there 4 different time zones? Hang on. Yes, there's 4 different time zones, 5 different plots. Now, the older time zones are the ones I personally am not as engaged with, because at the moment they are very separate to where the rest of the story is going. The rest of it you can see knitting together, whereas the other 2 are still quite separate, but I'm still really enjoying them. But there is one that is much more of a sci-fi based futuristic timeline, and I didn't really expect myself to be following that one and enjoying that one as closely as I am, because I often don't enjoy sci-fi, especially space-based sci-fi, and this has a little bit of that aspect to it, and I'm loving it. It's so good. So I'm over halfway. I'm there, that's where I am. And I would say it took until around 300 pages in for me to really see where each individual story was going, and now they're starting to knit together. But among this just being a brilliant adventure, it's also a little bit of a book about books. It's also a commentary on our environment and how people are doing things about that, but not necessarily the right things, and also what will happen if we don't protect our planet. It is kind of a mission statement there to do something now whilst we still have the time, but it's not preachy at all. It isn't done in that way. It's just very interesting and reflective. I'm just obsessed with it. It's so visual, it's so brilliantly written, and I'm really enjoying the fact that we've got all these different storylines slowly knitting together. So really, really liking this. But now I'm gonna have some lunch, and then I'm gonna go for a really nice walk with my friends. Also, fringe update, I have now washed my hair, like myself, and styled it. I don't know, so I quite like this kind of gap that I've got going on. I don't think that's parted right. Anyway, I like the gap thing that I have going on, but obviously it's kind of meant to be worn. Can't even do it more like this. I don't know yet. I've got to get used to it, but I'm just going to kind of let it do what it wants to do, because I would normally let my hair dry curly. Obviously have not done that today because I wanted to see what it looked like straight, so I don't know what's going to happen to it then, but still working it out, but I'm quite enjoying it. So anyway, yeah, gonna go have some lunch now. I have finished Cuckoo Land. I did not expect this book to make me feel the way it did. Going into this, I was daunted by the size. It was also partially sci-fi based, which is not a genre I read very often. And generally, I thought it was gonna be daunting because I knew it was meant to be quite all over the place in narrative in a good way, but I just knew it was gonna be fragmented and hectic and chaotic, and I loved it. I've just finished it. If I didn't say that already, I've just finished it. I listened to a little bit of the audiobook for this, as well as I probably physically read about 80% and listened to the audiobook for 20% or so. Like literally just because I couldn't stop reading it, and I needed to be able to read it when I couldn't physically sit down and read, so it was so good. I'm just gonna like put it down whilst I tell you a bit more about it. So the premise of this book is that there is this book within this book called Cuckoo Land, and it is a text that we're seeing translations made by one of the characters in every few chapters, and we're seeing it there, but we don't really know much about this book. But this book is somehow featured within each of these storylines in a different way, shape or form, and it's all about what this book is doing and how this is bringing everyone together and how it kind of all links through. And I just think the way it was done was so brilliant. The characters were so fantastic. They were just done in such a way that I cared so much. At the end, this book had me crying because it was just so epic and such a brilliant adventure. And I just thought it was fantastically written. I've not read All the Light We Cannot See, which is the other book by Anthony Doerr, and I think I will now add that one to my wish list, because if this one is anything to go by, then that one is going to be fantastic. I did like the fact that this was a book about books, because that is something that I really enjoy in the books that I read. I like the love of literature, and this was a lot of this was taking place in a library, which I really loved reading more about. And there was just so many clever elements. I can't say more than that without telling you some spoilery things, which I'm not going to do. So that is all I shall say. It was 5 out of 5 stars, and I now need to pick another book. I have no idea what to pick. I'm looking at my shelves. I don't know. I'm kind of looking for something fun and light-hearted. The Appeal comes to mind because I bought the Twyford Code this week, but I'd like to read The Appeal first. I know they're not in a series, but I would still like to have read that one first, because obviously normally writing gets better the more the writing goes on, so I'd like to start with one of the first books. But I don't know. I've still got the Frederick Backman book on my TBR. That's the last book I've got left on my TBR, but I would like to leave that until the latter end of the month, because we're doing that as my Patreon book club pick, and I don't think anyone's started it yet, and I want to read it when I know people have started it. So yeah, I'm just having a look. I don't know. I've got my Patreon spent in 30 minutes, so I really need to pick something. So the Appeal is an option. I was looking at the new Pages & Co book as well, which is over there, which I haven't read yet, but I want to try and get that onto my TBR for next month, because there's a lot of bigger books that I want to get onto my TBR next month that are coming out next month, or like I'm getting an arc of, and I want to be able to include that. So I don't want to have too many big books, so I'm kind of saving that one for then. That would be perfect, because that is the kind of vibe I want to go for. I keep looking at the books that are not going to be the lighter books and thinking, oh, I know I really want to read these, but such as 1,000 Ships. I want to do a Song of Achilles reread, but I kind of want to vlog that reread as like a specific vlog for that book. I don't know if that would be anything anyone would be interested in, but I'm rereading it after 4 or 5 years of not having read it. Like the first time I read it was back in, I think it was around 2016, maybe 2015, 2016. And I didn't get as much out of it at that point. I think it was the wrong point of time for me to read it, and I want to reread it now with the kind of reading brain I have on my head now. So I'm intrigued to see how I find that. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I really don't know. Anyway, I'm going to end this vlog here, so you're going to have the suspense of what book do I pick, but I will be telling you that in my next vlog or on my social media. But yeah, sorry, I haven't decided yet, so I can't tell you, but I will try and decide now. It's gonna happen, maybe. Maybe something like TJ Klune's The Extraordinaries. Is that the first one in that series? I really don't know. I want something light, I want something fun, because everything I've read has been not heavy, but like on the kind of more serious side, so I need something to kind of contrast that, I think. Anyway. I'm pretty proud of myself for actually reading the books that I've bought recently, or that I've got as Christmas presents. I'm actually reading the newer books on my TBR, which, alright, I probably should also be reading the older books on my TBR, but at least they're not just going to immediately just sit on my TBR for years and years. I'm actually reading them, which I'm proud of myself for, so yay. Anyway, right, I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what you've been reading this week, and also if you want to comment something and you don't know what, a little cloud emoji for this book, because it was so good. And you can subscribe to see more of my face on your feed. I've also got my Patreon link down below. I'm onto a Patreon live soon. As I said, these lives are available to everybody, all tiers on my Patreon. So yeah, you can sign up to that below if you were interested. Thank you so much for watching. Keep smiling and stay positive.